Great. Hello, Ted. So I guess I do win the prize, and I have Hamish sitting with me. Oh, and maybe Jeff as well. So we're gonna do we're gonna do a fairly gentle class today, and sometimes I say it's gonna be gentle, and then I trick everybody, myself included. But today is really kind of the offset to the past 3 weeks, which have been a little bit more physically challenging and demanding. And hopefully, if you enjoyed that, you're still doing parts of it throughout your weeks. And so today is really about just kind of pulling some stuff apart. We're going to focus a little bit more probably on the lower part of the body, hips, back, a little bit with the iliopsoas, and we're just going to kind of go through a few things. So remember the principles of yin as we go through this. In very simple, basic terms, more simple than we should ever think about yin, but the way I think about it is you want to just push to that edge of feeling discomfort, back up from that, settle the breath, settle the mind, settle the body, and then maybe reapproach and see if you go a little bit further. And when you get good at doing that in your yin practice, then you can take that into life, which is what I tend to do. And so far, so good. So as the dogs are clicking around, let's just relax the shoulders, pulling up and back through the core just to support the low back. Drop the arms. Soften through the neck. Shoulders stay away from the ears. Just close your eyes. Maybe just tip your head forward a tiny bit. And just ground into your physical space, getting a sense of where you are. Using all senses except not your eyes. And start to open your eyes. And as you do, just take a moment, look up, let your neck stretch, your chin stretch. And then try and close the jaw. Slowly bring the head back and then tuck the chin to the chest. As you do that, roll the shoulders back and away, bringing the shoulder blades together. Hold and breathe here for 3 or 4 breaths. And then just kind of coming back into a regular, however your shoulders like to be position. We'll bring fingertips to one side, pressing into the floor. Lengthen a little bit through the core so that you're not kind of sinking in here too much. Other arm's going to come up into the air, nice stretch up. And last week, I really liked what we were doing, kind of opening the palms so that your palm is facing up, getting that stretch through the forearm. Holding it here for a moment, moving those fingertips as far away from the wrist as possible. Push up a little bit higher towards the ceiling and then start to move across the midline. So I'm bending the arm that is kind of touching the floor as I come further into the stretch. And then very slowly coming up, reaching all the way up, and the arm comes back and down. Other side, fingertips, stretching an arm up, opening up through the palms. Really lengthening. Maybe pushing up a little bit more. And then reaching up and over, crossing the midline. And then all the way up and bring the arm back and down. Staying in the seated position you're in, as comfortable or not as it may be for a few moments more. Take your fingertips in front of you, and we're just going to walk forward a tiny bit. And once you kind of get to that point where you're like, okay, this is a good stretch, we are not really warmed up, so we're not trying to get the face to the floor. But once you get to that comfort zone, push back through the hips, feel that stretch, and then tuck the head. Let's pull back, rolling the shoulders all the way back and down. Nice. We're going to move on to hands and knees now. We're going to do a little bit of cat-cow, and then we're going to do cat-cow with our wrists spun around. And that's only if that feels good for you. So we're going to pop onto hands and knees. I'm gonna navigate dogs. I'm really a little bit upset that the dogs are not sticking to Laura. Oh wait, Hamish might be helping me with that. That was the nice thing I was looking forward to, but having somebody doing the class with me here, it's like, please, please manage the dogs. All right, so hands are underneath the shoulders, knees are on the floor. We're gonna take a slow, deep breath in, head and tail lift. And then slowly tucking the head and tail under, arching up through the back. So inhaling up. And exhale. Breathing up. And reversing. Breathing up. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Flip your toes under, walk your way back. Pull out those pinky toes. So just sitting for a moment here in a foot stretch, roll your shoulders up, back, and down. As soon as I come into this posture, I want to kind of arch the back, and I'm trying to keep it fairly straight. Remembering the principle of yin as your feet likely start to talk back to you. So if you need to come out of this posture, you can. And then that's good. Let the feet out. We're going to come back into a little cat-cow. This time I am going to spin my hands around so that my fingertips are pointing towards my knees. If that's not comfortable for you, or if you're only halfway, just do it the traditional way. And when you're ready, we're going to breathe in, head and tail lift. And exhale, rounding the back. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhaling. Do once more up. Rounding the back. Releasing your hands. And then walking back into a child's pose, sinking down. And you're going to soften into the mat while I let a dog outside. We're going to hold child's pose a little bit longer. So if you need to move around in the posture, moving the knees out to the sides, you're more than welcome to do that. Slowly start to walk your way back out of the pose. And we're going to move back into the hero. So I'm sitting on my heels. I'm going to bring the shoulders up and back. If possible, palms rotate up. And just make sure that the chin is lifted, shoulders push away from the ears. And then we're going to start to lift into a little bit of almost the first step of the camel pose, which starts to look like lightning bolts until you make it into a camel. So tighten up through your core. We're just going to start to lift off the mat. So we're coming onto our knees. We're not going to hold too long. So if the knees are a bit uncomfortable, that's okay. Roll one shoulder, hand comes to just above the butt. Other shoulder rolls back, hands are there. And we want to be pushing down while lifting up through the chest, bringing the shoulder blades together, elbows come together. And if you can kind of just feel a little bit of balance here, you can lean back into this. So you're kind of starting to approach a back bend. Just make sure you can still breathe. And then slowly coming up, good. So I'm going to start to spin the other way because I have sun in my eyes. And we're now going to need to grab a towel or a blanket or something for our knees. So put your base down to support your knees. And then we're just going to wiggle our knees on and choose a foot that we're going to bring forward. Just like this. drop the arms, and let's just, in this very simple 90-90, kind of get a sense of our balance. So we haven't done anything to set balance officially, so you might already start to feel a little bit wobbly here. I sure as heck do. So really deepen the breath. Let's bring one hand onto that knee. We're going to take the other arm all the way up, stretching up as high as you can while lowering the opposite hip. Thanks, Laura. Laura's my dog wrangler now. She can let Hamish in. And then we're going to start to cross the midline of the body. So again, watch your balance. Nice deep breaths. Just notice where you're feeling this. So we're going to hold this a little bit longer. Think about where that bent elbow is. If it's hinging forward, thank you, Laura. So if it's hinging forward, just start to make sure that's opened up and that you're not leaning into this. And then to release, I'm going to bring my arm forward and down. And then I'm going to switch to the other side. Let's take some nice deep breaths. Really lengthen, pull back through the core. Get your balance here. And notice the little adjustments that you make to kind of tweak your balance. So for me, what happens is I start to move my foot a little bit out to the side. You just move, Hamish, out of the way.
I'm trying to figure out which knee to put down.
Oh, sorry.
That's suspicious.
Oh my God. Laura's having fun with all the dogs leaving treasures on her mat. So think about where that back foot might be located. This is such a good idea. Oh my God. So taking a nice deep breath in, I'm going to bring one hand onto the knee, stretch the other arm up into the air, reaching up. Lots of deep breaths. So we want to create the space first, really feel that in that hip, and then start to cross the midline. Again, if you're rolling forward and into this posture, come on back. And then to release, sweep the arm down and forward. See if you can bring the hand down to the mat. We're going to bring both knees back. Knees come further apart, sinking into as wide-legged a child's pose as you can manage. So maybe the knees are right off the mat. And this is another longer hold that we're going to do. Start to pull the palms all the way back. rolling the shoulders up and back. Bring the knees a little bit closer together, and then once again, we step 1 foot forward. So this time we're going to shift our posture a little bit while we're here. So think about that front foot. And if you've got this nice 90-90, we're going to step that foot forward just a tiny bit. And we want to do that because we're going to add some motion that allows us to bring that knee better stacked over the ankle, which is going to stretch up through the opposite hip. So keeping the shoulders back, chest is lifted, tail is tucked under. And once you tuck the tail here, you're going to feel that stretch, usually in the back leg side. And then on the in-breath, start to move into this. Your hands can be wherever you want for balance. Take a few breaths. And then exhale. And see if you can push back a little bit further, not a straight front leg, but just kind of push back a tiny bit more. And then we're going to do this on a breath. So inhale, moving the knee forward. Exhale, reversing. Inhale, moving forward. Exhale back. We'll do a couple more. Inhale. Watch your balance. Exhaling. And we'll come forward. Inhale. And then coming back. Exhale. Good. Let's switch to the other side. If the knees need a break, take that break. Even with padding, I'm starting to feel my knees a little bit. And let's bring the other foot forward. So starting with your 90-90 with the legs, you want to walk that front foot forward just a little ways. And just push him out of the way. Oh. So let's take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just start to move into this first stretch that we're going to hold a little bit longer. Notice what the shoulders are doing here. If there's a lot of tension, maybe the shoulders are moving up towards the ears, just push them away. And let's move back. So when we come back, now think about moving back a tiny bit further, just kind of testing that range of motion. And then we'll do it on the breath. So inhale, we're moving forward. Chest is lifted, and exhale, coming back. Inhale forward. And exhale back. Inhale, moving forward. Exhale back. And we're going to inhale forward once more. And moving back. Release that foot. Knees are going to stay side by each, so nicely closely placed together, and then very slowly starting to walk back into a child's pose. Pull the hands back, roll the shoulders. And then we can just take a moment and move that towel or blanket out of the way. And we're gonna bring our legs out in front. And I'm gonna grab a sit. Up to you. So moving into just this posture with the legs forward, take a moment and move the bum flesh out of the way so you have that nice connection with the floor through the sit bones. Shoulders are up, back, and down. And the poodle is gonna relax, nice. So take a moment here and flex your feet, bringing the toes up towards the knees. Feel kind of the legs activate. And then take a moment to add the core in, lifting up and back, shoulders drop down. Let's bring one arm up. And I'm doing a little roll in just like I would for warrior one. And then I'm going to bring the other arm up, rolling in there as well. Nice. So with every deep in breath, kind of lift up a little bit higher. And in order to do that, you're probably going to have to press into your heels. You're going to have to press into your butt. It becomes a really active posture. And then slowly start to come forward, holding this tension. You're going to come to about 45 degrees. Really keep pulling back through the core. And then soften everything. Soften the feet, soften the legs, head, and it tumbles forward. Pulling up, roll your shoulders up and back, and then use your towel again. I was gonna choose the wrong side here because somebody happened to get in the way. But we want to bring the legs into kind of a tree pose type posture. And I'm going to use my towel as a little bit of support to ensure that I'm not hyperextending through my hip. So I'm going to bring my foot actually to the side of the knee, which of course we wouldn't be doing if we were standing. I hear this creates a nice seat for a dog. And my knee is nicely supported here, so I'm not feeling too out of whack. In fact, I can roll that towel under a little bit more. So my extended leg, the foot's kind of flopped out on an angle. I'm just going to start to formalize the posture. So I want to lengthen, it's pulling out through the hip. So think about it this way, your extended leg is the one that is going to be active and the bent leg is just kind of there to look pretty. So I'm going to bring my shoulders back. I'm going to lift up through the core, fingertips on either side of that knee. And we're going to start to make our way forward. Feel that hamstring start to engage. And if you can, as you're coming forward, make sure that the heart is lining up with that big toe. So you're going on a slight angle towards that foot. And if you would like, you can certainly grab the foot, grab the ankle, move your hands to wherever they're comfortable. From here, slowly start to drag your hands back, drag yourself back, shoulders come up and down, and now we're going to change this posture into wild thing. So we're going to take it through very, very bit by bit, step by step. And then we'll do it in a little bit more of a fluid manner in a couple of moments. So I'm gonna remove that support from the knee. I'm gonna move forward a tiny bit here. So the bent knee side, you need to take a hand behind your back. And then we take our other hand, and this is where our magic energy comes from, because we're gonna do this very sweeping motion, which is going to magically lift ourselves off the floor. So you're going to be weight bearing on this knee, and you're going to be lifting up, using the core strength. So if you're not familiar with Wild Thing, I can show you what it looks like. If you know how this goes, join me the first time. But basically we sweep, we lift, and then you're pushing that hip up towards the ceiling. Take 3 or 4 breaths. And then release it as beautifully and as gracefully as you can. Nice. Give the shoulders a roll. Let's switch to the other side. So a little bit of a support under that leg to begin. Again, I like to line up the foot this side for whatever reason my foot's a little bit higher up. That is fine. Fingertips either side of the knee. I'm starting by flexing my foot, activating that leg. Feel like you're pulling out of the hip, lifting up, and then starting to move forward. So directionally, again, your heart center is moving towards that big toe. Pulling all the way up and back, roll the shoulders, remove that support from the knee, bring a hand behind the back, nice and tight through the core, breathe in, lift up. 3 or 4 breaths, lifting that hip as high as it'll go. And then gently releasing down. Nice. Between this and our next round, bring the soles of your feet together, sitting in the cobbler's pose or butterfly, whatever you like to call it. If it's not comfortable with hands forward holding the feet, they can come behind the back, lifting up through the chest. I feel today like holding onto my feet and pulling forward. So from here, rolling up, lifting through the chest, hands under the outer knees, pushing together. I'm going to bring a leg forward. I'll go back to my first side. This time, because we've done a couple of rounds of this stretch, I don't need the support under the knee anymore. If you would like it, put it back there. Otherwise, start to soften forward into that extended leg. 3 deep breaths. Pulling all the way back, shoulders roll, bring the hand behind the back. When you're ready, lifting up and back to Wild Thing. See if that hip will move higher or further towards the sky. And then gently releasing down. moving back into butterfly or cobbler. Moving forward if it's comfortable. Let's pull up and back, shoulders roll, push those knees together, and took me a moment to figure out which side I was on this time. And so this side is still feeling like it needs a little bit of support, so I'm not going to fight that. Support is in place, and I'm going to ease down towards that foot. Let's start to pull up, roll the shoulder, hand behind the back, moving the towel out of the way, and when you're ready, lifting up and back to Wild Thing. And then releasing back down. Awesome work. Let's come on to the back. I'm going to grab this so I have an idea of what time it is, because of course I always lose track of time. So after that, and I realized that I said this was going to be super gentle, and we just did Wild Thing a few times, which is not a gentle posture. That's one that definitely takes some strength, but it takes less strength than a side plank. It takes less strength than some other stuff. And what it does for the hips is really quite remarkable. So it's a posture, if you don't do that on your own, maybe start, and we'll keep coming back to it over the next few weeks. You're welcome. So on the back, now we're going to do a little bit of work that we have done before with the iliopsoas. I love this, so we're going to do a little bit of it as a way to kind of stretch the psoas a little bit more and get it to release and relax prior to some more deep stretching and then the Shavasana. So come on down to the back. And knees are going to stay up, hip width apart. Feel your feet on the floor, maybe spread out your toes a little bit, make sure the arches are lifted. And as you breathe in, start to roll your hips forward. So we're doing this kind of pelvic roll. So the bum stays on the mat, but you're going to create space, enough space that your hands can tuck under. And then as you exhale, pushing down into the floor. So this is this kind of pelvic rock that we do quite often. So let's just do that on a breath. So we inhale and roll forward, feel that stretch. Exhale back. Inhale up. And exhale. Inhale, coming forward. As you exhale, really push into the floor. Feel that back flatten. Feel your low ribs sinking in. Inhale, roll forward. And exhale, just soften in. Good. So if your back is not feeling great, if your low back feels like it's a little twitchy, you're not really enjoying this, you could do a few bridge lifts, or you could just pull a knee to the tummy, or just rest with the knees both pulled onto the tummy. If you want to continue, we are going to change this a little bit. So what's going to happen is we're going to inhale and tilt the pelvis forward. And then as we exhale and push into the floor, one knee is going to come back, and that knee is going to move itself. You're not going to use the hands. It's going to come back as far as it can. I'm also at the same time pressing into the floor with that opposite foot. And then as that foot comes back to the floor, we rock forward, and then we switch sides and exhale, coming back. So let's start with feet on the floor, and we'll just enjoy making sense of this somatic movement. Your hands can be wherever they are comfortable. So let's start, inhale, rock that pelvis forward. As you exhale, bring the knee back, remembering to press into the floor. Inhale, foot comes down, pelvis forward. Exhale, other side. Inhale, releasing that foot, rocking forward. Exhale, other side, come on back. Inhale. Exhale. Other side, coming back. Inhale, make sure you're still creating all that space on the in-breath. Exhale, opposite knee comes back. Inhale. Exhale, we switch sides. Breathing in. Exhale. Inhale. And this time, exhale, bring both knees to the tummy. So take a few breaths with your arms not pulling the knees in. Soften through your feet. And now bring the hands to the knees and just feel the weight of the hands. And then you can apply a little bit of pressure, pulling those knees in. And when I do this, I'm pulling the knees in, but also starting to kind of pull them up towards the shoulders. And if you can kind of get into that posture and you can feel the upward pull, see if you can get your butt and the low back to kind of soften. So kind of releasing in the opposite direction, lengthening. And still breathing deeply. I'm going to keep a hold of my right leg bent, pulled in, and I'm going to let my left leg extend up into the air. I'm going to flex my foot. Take some big breaths. Let's add the right leg to this. So both legs are extended. If it's comfortable, reaching up, seeing if legs can stay straight-ish while you grab a hold of the toes. And automatically my hips are going to start to lift here. So I want to press them down. Pushing and pulling. This kind of a stretch gives you a strong sense of how tight hamstrings can really start to change the shape of the low back and impact how we hold our hips. Bring the knees down to the tummy, again, pulling them in. And then this time, just the right leg comes up. Left is gonna join it. Let's reach up, grab for feet. And this time, see if you can move the hands to behind the legs to the calves, pushing, pulling, moving that closer to the body. You're gonna feel some muscle shake. And then soften through the knees. Keep the knees on the tummy where they are. We're kind of halfway into this, knees are bent. I'm gonna put my palms right on the soles of my feet. And as we're holding here, trying to let that low back release. And then moving into a butterfly pose. From here, release your right leg, stretch it out on the floor. And we're gonna take that left bent knee, pulling it over the midline of the body. And then pull that left knee back up to the tummy, stretch out that leg, switch it for the right. And right leg crosses the midline. Let's bring the knee back to the tummy, the other knee joins it. Stretch your legs up into the air, stretch the arms into the air. And then soften into dead bug. And then soften down to the mat. And find your best possible posture for your Shavasana. Start to deepen your breath and bring some awareness back to your physical self. Add extra stretches you need. You can stretch the fingers and toes. Or move the head from shoulder to shoulder. And think about how the stretches that we've done have hopefully released some tension in your physical self. When we target the hips and the hamstrings like we did today, often we feel a little bit of pressure lifting. And so when we feel that happening physically, it should translate to how the breath flows, should translate to our mood. Should be easier to smile. Should be easier to keep the shoulders away from the ears. So take a big stretch. Reaching the hands up over top of the head, stretching the legs, feeling taller and stronger. And then grab a hold of those knees again, give yourself a hug. And then when you're ready, moving to a seated posture and just breathing. Bring the hands together in front of the heart. Press the palms into each other. And now think about how you feel and how that maybe has shifted even from when you were on the mat. This is usually when some energy starts to flow back into the body, where you might feel like actually getting on with the day and doing some fun stuff. And I hope that everything you do today is fun and amazing. And I hope that translates to the week ahead. And if not, breathe and stretch and be kind to yourself. That's really the only way we can get through all of this great stuff that we get through. So I hope everything is amazing. Namaste. Namaste. And I can't wait to see everybody next week. As that slide to my camera, the long slide.